No discussion of system attacks would be complete without talking a little bit about physical security. Physical security is important for several reasons. Physical access is basically a rare but a fantastic opportunity for a hacker to actually get hands-on interaction with their target system. Now, typically, no matter what kinds of technical controls you have, physical access can get through all of them. With physical system access, a hacker can try different things that they may not get to over the network. This might include the use of devices, covert devices like USB keys with malware on them and so forth. They also might be able to try brute force attacks when they're sitting there on the keyboard. They also may try sabotage if their goal is denial of service. If nothing else, they may can at least footprint the organization and get some more information about the target. Now, physical access is often overlooked by both techies and ordinary users. And hackers take advantage of this. They take advantage of poor physical controls, or they even use social engineering to get this hands-on access to the system that they want. The basic tenet in hacking is if you can get physical access to it, it's not theirs anymore, it's yours. Because if you can get physical access to the box, a hacker can do anything to it. You can steal it, you can break it, you can try to hack into it. Now, any technical controls that are out there that you might encounter when you're trying to hack over the network, these include firewalls, encryption, in some cases permissions, and so forth. None of this will prevent or mitigate a physical attack because you're inside already. Now, physical controls include things like guards, gates, guns, closed-circuit television sets, access badges, but it also includes the operational procedures, like what the procedures are for visitor control, for example, whether they have to sign in or whether they have to be escorted throughout a facility. The big physical control, obviously, is organizational personnel. People have to be smart and educated on physical security. Now, having said that, all of these controls can be circumvented by someone who is very adept at social engineering or even an insider. A trusted insider obviously will have a badge to get in. Now, if they decide to go rogue and destroy data or hack into systems, physical controls won't help much. Another thing the hacker may take advantage of are poorly implemented controls if they're not done very well, or controls that are completely missing. Obviously, if there are no gates, guards, guns, or CCTVs and you don't need an access badge, well, obviously this is much easier to get into the place. Now, understand that a hacker only needs a few minutes with the system if they are well equipped, they have the tools they need on them, if they're well organized, and they have a plan. If they know they need to get in and get to a Windows box and stick a USB key in, and there's software on that USB key that will automatically steal the passwords, then they only need a few seconds. And all they need is a few seconds or minutes in the facility. Now, what are the consequences of physical attacks? Well, at the very least, a hacker could steal a system or a device. And when we say system, we're thinking of a big desktop or a server, but not always. What if the hacker could steal a tablet, for example, or a smartphone, or a laptop? We also may think of system damage or alteration. If the goal of the hacker is to deny service to an organization, what better way to do that than to actually physically destroy equipment? Carry a hammer in your pocket and start beating up on keyboards or systems or whatever. The hacker could also alter a device in some way. And of course, data theft or alteration. If the hacker knows that there are USB sticks or USB drives that are in a facility, they may decide to grab one and pocket it so they have data that's on it. This could be personal data or proprietary data. The consequence also could be credential theft. If you're inside of a facility, you may be able to get credentials. Obviously, people leave passwords written down on stickies under their keyboards or things of that nature. You could also try to get the credentials from the system you're actually attacking as well. If nothing else, a hacker can get information just by observing the facility from the inside, looking around and seeing how everything is set up. Maybe they're casing the joint, to use a term from the old days. Maybe they want to know how many gates, guards, guns, CCTVs, and what the security is. So they're footprinting the organization. A hacker could also introduce malware into the system with a USB key that has some on there. They could stick it in the back of a system, let it do its work for a few seconds, infect the system, pull the stick, and walk out the door. And presto, there's malware on the system waiting for the victim to activate it. A hacker could also connect any covert or malicious device. Again, we go back to USB keys, very small ones for the pico size that could be plugged into the back of the computer and may not be noticed, or keystroke loggers. A hacker could also stick a sniffer on the network if they had time. Now, these methods of physical system access and attacks include several things, but immediately coming to mind, we have social engineering, obviously, because people are your weakest link, and we'll discuss social engineering later on in the course. Lax employees who don't follow procedures, who don't sign in visitors or don't worry about escorting them, for example. A lack of physical security controls in general. What if there are no controlled circuit televisions? Covert system access, meaning they are inside the facility posing as a maintenance person or a janitor, and they're left unguarded for a minute and they get to the system so they can type on the keyboard. Maybe no one's watching. Infected or malicious media. I mentioned, again, the USB sticks that may have hacker tools on there. And there are several that you can download and put on a stick that will take only a few seconds to steal a SAM file from a Windows box. Hardware keyloggers. Again, another example of a covert malicious device. You can plug them into the back of a computer and in between the keyboard and the computer, and they look like they're part of the keyboard connection. A hacker could also install a sniffer, as I mentioned, so that it could capture all the internal network traffic, and the hacker could get that later. Either it could be sent to them, or they could get back into the facility and get the data later. And don't forget about physical damage. Wire cutters or other tools. If they're in the hacker's pockets, they could clip wires in the network data center or to a main switch and take out some of the devices that people use. These are just some examples of physical system access and the attacks that a hacker could conduct against an organization.